Hello, it is a beautiful, perfect fall Pacific Northwest afternoon. And I have been out in my garden all day. Got a little help from my boys, and Lincoln's doing some maintenance as well. And we're preparing for winter and to get everything kind of prepared for the cold, rainy season. We're not done yet, but it is time to start giving some signals to the plants and just cleaning some things up so we don't have problems in the spring. So let's take a look at what's going on. What are you
Making a mess.
making a mess?
This is me making a mess with the pump, trying to figure out how things work and fix them. It's delightful, and I won't need a bath later.
So Lincoln has our pump taken apart, and because our panel is not marked accurately, he thought he had the power to the pump turned off, but he didn't. So it made a little bit of a mess. And he's real happy about it, right, Link?
I'm not unhappy. I'm very clean.
Oh, very clean, yeah. He's a little wet now. And why was the pump taken apart in the first place?
Because the pump actuator failed to actuate in the expected way.
In the expected way. Yeah, and in layperson terms, what does that mean?
The pump's broke.
The pump's broke. It's got sand in a thingamajig. And we need to get the sand out of the thingamajig so that water will come out of our faucets. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. If you can hear an announcer voice in the background, that's because it's fall. We live not too far away from a small university, and their ball fields are close to us. So they've got a ball game going on, and so you might hear cheering. We'll just take it as cheering on the garden too. So the garden is still looking very green and full. But as we walk in further, you'll definitely see some differences. The potatoes have been harvested. I don't think that was the case in the last garden tour. So this is where the potatoes were. Now it's a compost heap. So instead of taking all this plant material out of the garden that it is produced, what I've done is I put down cardboard. After I harvested the potatoes, I smoothed out the dirt, put down cardboard, put the straw back over, and now I am piling all this plant material that the garden is producing in this and a couple of other areas. And that will break down over the winter and just create compost for us. So, and which will just stay in this bed. This pile doesn't look very big on the camera, but it's been up past my waist a couple of times already today, and then I jump on there and trample it down, and yeah, it'll just in the end make a nice thin layer of compost. So the squash are pretty much done. I have pulled out all of the dead portions, and you can see I've just left the little green bits on each vine, and they'll continue to produce, and they are. Let me show you one. So they're still producing, they're still flowering. And so I'll just leave that little bit there until they're done, and then which will probably not be too many more days. And then I'll just cover this bed just the same way that I've done the compost. I'll put cardboard over it, and then I'll put straw over it, and this bed will just sit for the winter. I wanted to show you, first of all, look at Miracle the artichoke. Isn't she I love that artichokes do this. In fact, one of my other ones actually has a flower on it, and they just take off again in the fall. And unless we get a real hard freeze, she'll stay like that all winter long. I wanted to show you also the loofah. Y'all, I'm so excited. Look, I grew a loofah. I did it. I grew a loofah for the first time ever. It's a tiny loofah, and there's another one, like another little one right here. And it's gone clear up its trellises and clear up there. So I don't really know what to make of this. It's still flowering. I don't know. Obviously, this will not have time to dry on the vine. So I'm going to have to read to see if I can harvest it and dry it and be able to have it be a usable loofah. But I am delighted. So that's just one plant. The other plants I want to show you, they're down like right here. They never did get big. Whoops. Come on. Right there. They never did get bigger. They never grew up. Oh, this is 2 plants. One of them's just smaller than the other. So 2 of the 5 grew up and grew up the trellis and got big, and the other 2 just never did. So strange. All right, moving over into what was our bean patch where we were growing the black beans, which of course have been harvested now. Let me move over to this side a little bit easier to see. This looks like a mess, but in fact it is not really a mess. So let me show you. I have got cabbages planted along the far side. Those are all cabbages. Then a row of small sunflowers. A couple of them are blooming. Next to that, I have spinach that is coming up in a row. And those are all spinach seedlings, and they are coming up nicely. And then all of these plants are all volunteer bean plants. And look right here, there's like a huge mass of them. I'm gonna have to thin them. I have no idea if they will be able to produce fruit before it freezes, but beans can be like, they can tolerate a really light frost. So I'm gonna leave them. I'm gonna see what they do. We'll see if we get some green beans off of them. I wanted to show you, oh, here's another. This is one of the compost piles. This one's in my wagon, obviously, and it will go into my big compost bin. Look at these teddy bear sunflowers. I love them so much. They kind of lean over, so I like to harvest them for cut flowers, so I can appreciate them and admire them. But aren't they so fun? I just love them. John Henry harvested his pumpkins today. He just grew 4. He was a little disappointed in their size. We'll see what they weigh. And then he had something eat into one of them, which was a little disappointing. But what did we learn? We learned that maybe growing them maybe they need a deeper root space than the kiddie pool could provide. You can see my path again pretty well. Miracle's still encroaching a little bit, but I have worked to clean out most of the paths. Let's come back over to this first bed. Oh, let me show you the Tulsi first. I've harvested 2 or 3 times now. Pretty happy with that. I will be starting it sooner next time. So these are the things, the tomatillas. I'm still letting them go. I have not gotten a lot of tomatillas, enough to make us, I think now with what I harvested today, I probably have enough to make a single batch of Chile Verde from the 2 plants. There is a ton of fruit on them, and they just have not come to maturity fast enough. And I don't know if that's the variety that I chose, but it will definitely be on my list of things to read more about how to successfully grow them in the Pacific Northwest. I did go to the farmer's market on Wednesday and noticed that I think it's the first time I've seen tomatillas here. So they definitely are like a fall crop here. We just are not going to get them earlier in the summer. Update on the sun gold tomatoes. Here's this one. My hand is pretty much, it doesn't look like it on camera, but it's about stretched out from my shoulder, not quite. It doesn't really have much fruit. So the other one is mixed in with this tomatillo. Let's see. There it is. It's got some fruit on it. We'll see. Maybe it'll be right there, right there. So the rest of this bed has got kale in it. I have been harvesting the kale. As you can see, I will do a mass harvest of it. Probably not for another few weeks, though. It's definitely not at the top of my priority list. There are other things that need to go on. The Anaheim Peppers have got a lot of green peppers on them. I'm harvesting them as they turn ripe, but like how I've previously grown peppers when I've grown them like this in my beds, they just don't turn. I think I've gotten a handful, 10 maybe peppers off of the 3 plants. And so I will not be growing peppers like this again. Check out this beauty. Isn't she beautiful? I think this variety is called Autumn Surprise. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. The giant sunflower got harvested. I'll throw a picture of myself holding it in right here. Moving over to the second bed. Again, lots of kale. I'm not short on kale this year. Oh, I wanted to show you right here. I do have these Brussels sprouts that I put in. There's a little onion that got left over from when I was growing onions. These Brussels sprouts that I put in they kind of had a rough time. Oh, there's another onion. And now, see, they've got aphids, or I don't know what that is, but they're having a hard time. But they're starting to come back, and even I see little little seedlings even coming back from the root. So hopefully I'll get some Brussels sprouts. They're mine and Leo's favorites. I might even pick up some starts. This celery's doing great. What a fun way to grow celery. I think I will pick up organic crowns to grow from now on. Just eat the celery and then grow another round. I mean, why not? That just takes so much less time than growing it from seed. The cranberry beans, I wanted to show you guys what color they turn before when they're ripe but not dry yet. Let me see if I can find one. There you go, look at that. Look how big that is. And then it turns this beautiful, it kind of loses the green, turns this beautiful pink color. And this plant is covered in green beans now. So strange that it just did nothing all year. And now I just have, here's another one. There's a lot of them. So hopefully we'll figure out a way to get a good number of beans from that. And I do really enjoy eating cranberry beans. So look at this purple basil. Isn't she beautiful? Yeah. All right, the tomatoes, let me walk back so you can see this bed a little bit better. So as you can see, they have been cut back significantly. So that is to get more sun on them and open up the circulation. As you can see, they're still pretty healthy. We do get some disease, but really they're really healthy plants, and that's been my experience in the Pacific Northwest. If you want your tomatoes to ripen, their vines are not going to die back. You have to help them. You need to cut their tops off. You need to cut out all of their flowering vines and really expose the fruit that is available to the sun and let them know, hey, it's time to start ripening. What fruit you have, quit producing more. And even still, so I just have been in the last week doing this, and look, this is all that's still all new flowers. Tell it, hey, no. So this is the time of year that I start getting a little rough with my plants, letting them know it's time to be done. It's time to ripen your fruit and be done for the season. The Napa cabbage that I planted in here mostly all went to seed. It looks like I might get a few heads. I don't know. I think mostly they all bolted. You know, it is what it is. And of course, like all brassicas, you can eat the young seed pods. They're actually very good. They taste like a sweet cabbage. My broccoli, I just am noticing, has got some, some of these leaves have got some bug damage on them. I'll pull some of that off and see what I can do. These are all sprouting broccolis. I've never really been successful at growing like heads of broccoli. We'll see. I've got purple. I've got some other ones in here. We'll see what they do. I have ripped out the cucumbers. They were still producing a here and there, but it was time. I want to look at this Malabar spinach. It's so beautiful. My understanding is that these seeds will all create volunteers here. So the cucamelon is also finally decided to show up, and we have been harvesting and snacking on cucamelons. They're so much fun. Yep, tastes like it tastes like a little cucumber. The yard-long cucumber, let me go around to the other side. It still has, I want to show you. There's a cucumber, and there's a cucumber, and there's a cucumber, and there's a cucumber, and there, and there, and there, and there, and there. It's still producing tons of cucumbers. And they are a little bit smaller, and they don't get as big quite as quickly, but they still taste delicious. So we are happily still harvesting them. I have pulled the other cucumbers right here and put spinach in. I have let this fennel continue to live here because I'm harvesting the flowers for my bouquets, and they make me so happy. So I've just continued to let them kind of take over. They never bulbed up really well. They're very pretty, but they never really bulbed up very well. So again, something that I will need to learn how to grow better if that's what I want to grow. The eggplant are as tall as I am. This right here, this is an eggplant, that's an eggplant. I am going to attempt to overwinter these eggplants. They still are producing, they still have flowers on them. Silly, whoops, come on. Silly flowers, or silly plants. They still have flowers on them. And then over here, I'm very excited. My cilantro has started to come up, and this is the time of year that I get the most cilantro. It's just the easiest to grow in this weather. And my cayennes have a lot of fruit still on them. So I don't know. I've never used green cayennes before. Does anyone know what they are good for or what they taste like? I'll look into that. I'll definitely harvest the green ones, and maybe they just turn red on my counter. Maybe then that would be fine. Oh, and I wanted to show you these beets. Beets are another thing that grows better in this weather, and I have 2 patches of beets. Here's one, and I just like, these are multi-sown, so there's 3 in each thing, and they just kind of push each other out of the way. I've harvested quite a few, but there's 2 little bunches left, and then I've got some more growing in there. I wanted to show you so this is the main winter squash patch, and I did harvest my first spaghetti squash today, but I wanted to show you those are sunchokes. Aren't they beautiful? I just love the flowers that they create. They are related to sunflowers, but they produce an edible tuber, And they're sometimes called Jerusalem artichokes, not because they have anything to do with Jerusalem, evidently. I don't really know where that name came from, but their tuber does taste like a combination of a potato and an artichoke. My other big compost bed is right here. I pulled the soaker hose from here as much as I could so it's out of the way. And then this was the bed what was in here? The red onions, and they never really did well. And then I just let the squash kind of overtake it. So I want to make sure that this bed is well amended so that whatever I put in it next year is just better. The one thing that did well in it is this plant right here, which is motherwort. So, and I would like it to get bigger, and so I left it some space. And then here's the second smaller winter squash. And I harvested 4 squash out of it today. I'll show you those. And there's, I think, still 4 or 5 more in there. Let me see them down in there. The peppers, I pulled all the fencing out of them today and weeded, and so they look a little roughed up, and that's okay. It's good to let a little more sun in. They don't look like they have any ripe peppers on them because I harvested everything that was even like sort of ripe. And I will just continue doing that until the day before our first frost, and then I'll pull all the green peppers. So here's what I harvested today, other than the pumpkins that John Henry harvested. So these are, look how big these are. Oh gosh, they're I can't pick it up. I'll pick it up from the stem. I mean, that's not even the biggest one. They're just giant. So I hope they're good. I hope they taste good. Lots of peppers, patty pan, tomatillo, basil. And that's just as I go through and clean up, I'm pulling what I find. I haven't really given an update on the herb garden. I kept thinking, oh, I'll do a video just on the herb garden, and maybe I will, but it's getting kind of late in the season. It just is filling out beautifully. This is the new part of the herb garden, and the extra sun and the better soil have just really helped this take off. These herbs were just planted last fall. The lavender are a year older than that, I believe. Maybe not. Maybe they were just planted last fall too, but the lavender are bushing out, and pretty soon we'll fill in that whole fence line, which is the goal. Then we've got tarragon, oregano, one of 3. There's also a little oregano there and another little one right there. I kind of want them to fill in the front. Purple sage, thyme, another thyme, and come on, savory. And I have the purple alyssum along the back to help fill in the path. Feverfew, come on, feverfew. And then along this walkway, I've been working on this walkway all year. It is gravel. So it has all these, it has these weeds growing in it, but really it's a lot of gravel with soil mixed in. So I've been working on it, and I've planted, there are 4 thyme plants there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the goal is to help them sort of fill in. I also am throwing some calendula seeds in there, and then strawberries. And hopefully that will all just fill in, and eventually my hoses will get moved in there, and these plants will cover up the hoses, but still have them be accessible. How's it coming, Lincoln?
Progress.
Good progress. The echinacea is dying back, and my boys call them Halloween flowers. They do look pretty wild when they start to die back. I don't harvest them at all. I don't use them for cut flowers because I want them to spread. So I just let them do their own thing. I am encouraging the calendula to grow outside this bed it currently is inside too, but the hope is that the echinacea will take over this bed and then the calendula will move out and around it. And I started spreading the seeds, and look, I do have, I don't know if you can see them. Those are all baby calendula coming up. There's also a ton in there too, but that's fine. That's fine. This part of the herb garden is just doing great. The new sage looks great. These lavenders are, this one looks a little sad. I don't know what's going on with her. I have harvested all of the stevia. I grow stevia as an annual. I have overwintered it in my greenhouse. Just the next year's plant just doesn't seem to do very well for me, so I grow it as an annual. Lemon balm needs to be harvested before it goes to seed and spreads everywhere. This is my old oregano patch, and then I am trying to get these chives to spread the rest of this way. I have this raised filing cabinet bed, and with some more, I just threw some more sunflowers in there. The zinnias are still looking pretty good. And then the green stalk's looking quite a bit different. I've taken all of the marigolds, all except for this one. I couldn't bring myself to cut her down. And all of the strawberries that were planted in there grew daughters, and so I tucked them all up into the other empty pockets, so this will all have strawberries in it next year. Look at this mum. Mums make me so happy. It's like they wait till the end of the party and they're like, hey, I'm here to bring life to the end of the party. I also pulled the zinnias out of this little pot and put a couple of mums in there. Hopefully they'll get bigger and fill that in, but I may not leave them in there permanently, but they'll stay in there this winter. And then these zinnias and sunflowers, I threw a couple of late sunflowers in there with the zinnias. And these pots are still looking surprisingly good for how late in the season it is. The Dahlia, this happens every year. Let me show you. Can you see that? Those are aphids, and they just love this Dahlia. At the end of the year, that's what happens to it. That's how it dies. So I don't feel bad there aren't many flowers on here because I harvest them while they're pretty young. Most of them, like this one, I will harvest probably today so that I can enjoy them. And I don't really mind the aphids. They just help break down the plant, and they provide food for the ladybugs, and I always have an abundance of ladybugs in my garden. One last thing I wanted to show you are these two trees. This crabapple tree was here when we moved here. It's obviously a very old tree, and isn't she lovely with her fruit on there? I don't really use crabapple for anything. I know there are things you can use it for. It's really high in pectin, so if you're preserving, you can use it as pectin. I don't. I just enjoy the color that she brings to my yard. And then this old rose tree produces the most delicious rose hips that I have ever had, and I just feel so grateful for her. If you've never had a really good rose hip, that you harvest them when they're soft and squishy like that. See, they get they're squishy, and they are so delicious. They're kind of a mess to eat because they're full of seeds and you don't eat the seeds, which is why I think they're not very popular. The fruit is really delicious. It's high in vitamin C, so as you might expect, it tastes sort of citrusy. It's really hard for me to describe what it tastes. It's kind of like kind of tastes like a really, really ripe, delicious nectarine with a little bit more like citrusy bite in it. And I harvest them, I dry them and use them for tea, and I put them in my fire cider. And that's it. That's what's going on right now in our garden in early mid-ish September. You guys want to say hi? My puppies are over here taking advantage of me sitting down to get some scritches. They don't ever get any scritches, do you? You guys are so, get out of here. So ridiculous. All right. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will talk to you next time.